In our imagination, olive oil is like liquid gold, a symbol of health, longevity, and the Mediterranean diet. But is everything really so perfect? New research, real-life medical cases, and unexpected data are making people take a closer look at this product from a different perspective. In this video, you will learn 10 concerning facts about what might be wrong with olive oil. If you add olive oil to your salads every day or drink it on an empty stomach because of advice you found online, make sure to watch this video until the very end. This video is going to be incredibly informative and helpful. If you want to take control of your health like a pro, give it a like, and let's get started. Problem 1. Liver and pancreas damage from frying with olive oil. In recent years, a concerning trend has emerged in the United States. More and more people are experiencing liver and pancreas dysfunction without having a history of alcohol dependence or serious chronic illnesses. According to the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases, over 24% of American adults suffer from non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and the number of patients with chronic inflammation of the pancreas has increased by 32% over the past 10 years. Often the cause is not in the obvious products, but in cooking habits that seem healthy. One such habit is the widespread use of olive oil for frying. Many believe that if the oil is healthy, it can be used for cooking without limitations. However, this is a very dangerous misconception. Extra virgin olive oil is indeed rich in antioxidants, but only as long as it has not been exposed to high temperatures. When heated above 180 degrees Celsius, which is 356 degrees Fahrenheit, the oil's molecules begin to break down, forming aldehydes, toxic compounds that directly affect liver and pancreas cells. This danger was confirmed by a study conducted in 2021 at the University of Minnesota. In the experiment, researchers observed a group of volunteers who, over the course of 12 weeks, consumed dishes prepared with overheated olive oil. By the fourth week, 74% of participants showed elevated levels of C-reactive protein, a marker of inflammation in the body. The liver was particularly sensitive to this change. Blood tests revealed increased levels of ALT and AST, which indicate damage to liver cells. But dry statistics are just the tip of the iceberg. Stories from real medical practice make this issue more tangible. In February 2022, an elderly couple visited a clinic in Houston, Texas, a 63-year-old man and his wife. The man complained of pain in the upper right side of his abdomen, nausea after eating, and a constant feeling of heaviness. His test results showed elevated liver enzymes and signs of pancreatic inflammation. An ultrasound examination revealed non-alcoholic fatty liver disease as well as structural changes in the pancreas. A clinic dietitian conducted a detailed interview which revealed that for over 10 years, the man had been frying potatoes, eggs, and meat daily exclusively in olive oil, believing it to be the safest option. The patient had to completely change his cooking habits, switching to water-based stewing and adding oil only to finished dishes. After 5 months, his liver and pancreas indicators returned to normal, and his overall condition significantly improved. To avoid this hidden harm, it is important to remember that extra virgin olive oil is not meant for frying. When heated above 180 degrees Celsius, 356 degrees Fahrenheit, it loses all its beneficial properties and becomes a source of toxic compounds. It is best used only in its raw form, for dressing salads, cooked side dishes, and vegetables. If frying is necessary, it is better to choose oils with a high smoke point, such as avocado oil or clarified butter, ghee, and reserve olive oil for dishes that are not thermally processed. This simple rule can help protect your liver, pancreas, and overall health from chronic inflammation. Problem 2. A false sense of benefit and overeating caused by olive oil. Every year in the United States, the number of people struggling with excess weight continues to rise. According to a recent report from the National Institute on Aging, more than 73% of American adults are either overweight or living with obesity. What is especially surprising is that many of these individuals genuinely believe they follow a healthy diet. Smoothies for breakfast, nuts for a snack, a salad with olive oil for lunch. But this is where one of the hidden traps lies: overeating healthy foods, particularly olive oil. There is a widespread myth that if the oil is olive oil, it automatically improves one's health. Many Americans pour it generously over their meals: pasta, bread, vegetables. believing this increases the nutritional value of their food. But the reality is that olive oil, no matter how extra virgin it is still fat, and fat is a concentrated source of calories. Just 1 tablespoon contains about 120 kilocalories. For comparison, an average apple contains around 90 kilocalories. So if you are adding 2 or 3 tablespoons of olive oil to your salad, that is already 240 to 360 kilocalories, and that is without counting the rest of your diet. Research confirms this. In 2022, the California for Obesity Research conducted an experiment involving 100 volunteers who replaced butter in their diet with olive oil. Importantly, participants did not limit the amount they used. They simply trusted their intuition, believing the product was healthy. After 3 months, 78% of the participants had gained between 2 and 3 kilograms. And this was not because they ate larger portions. They simply consumed more calories without realizing it. A review of their food journals revealed that the main source of the extra energy was olive oil, added freely and without measurement. Such cases are becoming increasingly common in medical practice. In January 2023, a 52-year-old woman named Jennifer visited a clinic in Los Angeles. She was frustrated because, despite eating healthy and going for regular walks, she had gained nearly 5 kilograms over the past 6 months. A detailed dietary analysis showed that the main change in her eating habits was replacing mayonnaise and butter with olive oil. But Jennifer, following advice from online blogs, did not limit the amount. She added olive oil to her porridge, salads, and toast, drizzled it over vegetables, and even blended it into her smoothies. After consulting with a dietitian, she was advised to strictly measure her oil intake, no more than 1 tablespoon per day. Within 2 months, her weight began to decrease. That is why olive oil should never be treated as a product that requires no control. It truly does have several health benefits, but the calories do not disappear. To avoid overeating, it is essential to measure oil precisely. Use a measuring spoon instead of pouring it freely. The optimal amount is no more than 1 tablespoon per day, especially if your diet already includes other fat sources, such as nuts, seeds, or fish. It is also important to understand that olive oil does not turn unhealthy food into something beneficial. It is merely a supplement, not a magic wand. Portion control is what truly reflects care for your health. Problem 3. Olive oil and unexpected issues with the gallbladder and digestion. According to the latest data from the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases, more than 25 million people in the United States suffer from gallbladder function disorders. These problems are especially common among women over the age of 50 and individuals with excess body weight. What is even more concerning is that in recent years, there has been a growing number of flare-ups among people who follow what is considered a healthy lifestyle. One of the reasons is the popular advice circulating on the internet, including recommendations to consume olive oil on an empty stomach. Many Americans, inspired by detox blogs and so-called liver cleansing routines, begin each morning with a glass of water with lemon and a tablespoon of olive oil. While in some cases this practice may gently stimulate bile production, for individuals with a sensitive gastrointestinal tract, and especially those with underlying gallbladder issues, it can lead to painful consequences. A study conducted by the Cleveland Clinic and published in 2022 revealed concerning findings. Patients with chronic cholecystitis who consumed more than 15 milliliters of olive oil on an empty stomach experienced acute gallbladder spasms and significant abdominal pain. This occurred because of a sudden release of bile when there was no food in the stomach to process. The oil triggered bile secretion, but there was nothing for it to digest. The result was bile stagnation, inflammation, and in some cases, complications severe enough to require surgery. This issue became especially clear in the case of a 58-year-old woman from Ohio who visited the emergency room with sharp pain in her right side and nausea. It was later discovered that for about a month, she had been drinking a glass of warm water with lemon juice and 1 tablespoon of olive oil every morning. She explained that she had found this liver cleansing recipe in a popular social media group. Her examination revealed an acute episode of cholecystitis, as well as small gallstones that she had previously been unaware of. After her condition was stabilized, a gastroenterologist advised her to completely stop taking olive oil on an empty stomach and switch to eating small, frequent meals with limited fat intake in the morning. Within 3 weeks, the pain disappeared and her condition improved. So, even a product as valuable as olive oil can be harmful when used incorrectly. People with a sensitive gastrointestinal tract, gallbladder disorders, dyskinesia, or cholecystitis are strongly advised not to consume oil on an empty stomach, especially in its pure form. It is best to add a small amount, no more than 1 teaspoon, to prepared meals that contain fiber or protein. This allows the oil to be absorbed gently without causing a sudden stimulation of the gallbladder. It is also essential to consult a gastroenterologist and undergo at least an ultrasound of the abdominal organs before starting any cleansing practices. Without proper medical evaluation, even natural methods can lead to serious health consequences. Problem 4. Fatty acid imbalance, when olive oil is not as healthy as it seems. Today, more and more Americans are paying attention to the types of fats they consume. This is not surprising. According to data from the United States National Institute on Aging, more than 68% of adults do not get enough omega-3 fatty acids, while their intake of omega-6 and omega-9 has sharply increased. As a result, the delicate balance between anti-inflammatory and pro-inflammatory substances in the body is disrupted. And this is not just about numbers, it forms the foundation for chronic inflammation, accelerated vascular aging, and even cognitive decline. Olive oil, despite its reputation as a healthy fat, primarily contains omega-9, monounsaturated fatty acids, and has almost no omega-3 content. The problem arises when a person makes olive oil their main source of fat while eliminating foods rich in omega-3. Without fatty fish, chia seeds, or flaxseed, the body begins to lack essential nutrients that protect the brain, blood vessels, and cells from inflammation. A study conducted by the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health in 2021 clearly confirmed this issue. The study involved more than 1,600 participants between the ages of 45 and 75, whose diets were rich in olive oil but low in seafood. 23% of them showed early signs of cognitive decline, including impaired memory, reduced attention span, and slower information processing. The researchers concluded that if the diet contains an excess of monounsaturated fats and not enough omega-3, this alters the lipid profile of the brain and increases the risk of neurodegenerative changes. One clear example of this imbalance was recorded in Seattle, Washington. The patient, a 60-year-old woman named Carol, visited a clinic with complaints of chronic fatigue, occasional headaches, and trouble focusing. She took pride in her diet: no fried foods, minimal meat, and only organic olive oil as her fat source, up to 4 tablespoons per day. After lab tests, doctors found extremely low levels of eicosapentaenoic acid and docosahexaenoic acid, the key omega-3 components. The cardiologist and dietitian who worked with Carol explained that an excess of omega-9 without proper omega-3 balance creates a pro-inflammatory environment in the body. She was prescribed a course of fish oil supplements and advised to include salmon, mackerel, or sardines in her meals twice a week. Within 2 months, her cognitive performance improved and inflammation markers decreased. So, olive oil is indeed a healthy product, but only when it is not the sole source of fat in the diet. To protect brain function, support vascular health, and reduce inflammation in the body, it is essential to maintain a balance between omega-9 and omega-3 fatty acids. The ideal approach is to consume no more than 1 to 2 tablespoons of olive oil per day, and to make sure the diet includes foods rich in omega-3. Fatty marine fish at least twice a week, ground flaxseed, walnuts, or purified fish oil capsules as prescribed by a physician. True health comes from balance, not from obsession with a single, healthy product. Problem 5. Sharp increase in blood sugar in people with type 2 diabetes when olive oil is combined with pasta or white bread. In the United States, the diabetes epidemic continues to grow. According to the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases, more than 37 million Americans live with diabetes, and the overwhelming majority of them have type 2 diabetes. People with this diagnosis must monitor their blood sugar levels daily, counting grams of carbohydrates and choosing foods with a low glycemic index. But even within these careful routines, mistakes often happen, especially when it comes to so-called healthy fats. Olive oil is considered a safe product for people with diabetes, as it contains no sugars or carbohydrates. However, the issue is not with the olive oil itself, but rather with how and with what it is consumed. Many patients with diabetes believe that pasta drizzled with olive oil is a healthy meal, or that dipping a piece of white bread in fragrant olive oil will not do any harm. But these habits can lead to sudden spikes in blood sugar levels. In 2022, researchers from Yale University conducted a clinical study involving 112 patients with confirmed type 2 diabetes. The participants were given equal portions of boiled pasta. One group ate the pasta without any oil, while the other group received the same portion with the addition of 1 tablespoon of olive oil. The results surprised even the scientists. The second group showed a glycemic response that was 34% higher. The rise in blood sugar did not occur immediately, but rather between 40 and 60 minutes after the meal, and it lasted longer than in the first group. Researchers suggested that fat slows down digestion and prolongs the absorption time of carbohydrates, creating a more extended and pronounced glycemic load. This effect has also been confirmed in real-life medical practice. In November 2022, a 67-year-old patient named Ronald from Maryland visited Johns Hopkins Clinic. He complained of chronic fatigue, headaches, and unstable blood sugar levels, even though he was strictly following dietary recommendations. His food journal raised no red flags. His diet included grains, vegetables, pasta made from durum wheat, and a small amount of fruit. However, his endocrinologist noticed one important detail. Ronald added olive oil to almost every meal. He used it not only in salads, but also in pasta, legumes, and even over boiled potatoes. Once olive oil was temporarily removed from starchy dishes, Ronald's blood glucose levels stabilized, and his HbA1c dropped by 0.7% within 3 months. This allowed him to avoid increasing his medication dosage and restored his sense of control over the condition. Therefore, people with type 2 diabetes should remember that it is not just the quantity of carbohydrates that matters, but also how foods are combined. Although olive oil contains no sugar, when combined with pasta, rice, potatoes, or white bread, it can enhance and prolong the glycemic response. The best practice is to use olive oil with vegetables, legumes, and leafy greens, foods that are high in fiber and have a low glycemic index. If you do add oil to pasta, it is important to reduce the portion size and pair the dish with proteins, such as fish or eggs, to help stabilize blood sugar. The main rule is not to eat bread with oil under the impression that it is healthy. For people with diabetes, these small details can make a big difference. Problem 6. Unexpected skin reactions in sensitive individuals from consuming olive oil. The skin is not just the body's outer layer. It is a vital organ that reflects internal processes within the body. According to the American Academy of Dermatology, more than 32 million American adults experience skin conditions each year, including eczema, chronic itching, flaking, and allergic reactions. These issues can have a wide range of causes, from external allergens to reactions triggered by certain foods. What many people do not realize is that even healthy foods, such as olive oil, can provoke flare-ups of skin problems. Olive oil is traditionally viewed as beneficial for the skin. It is used in cosmetics, homemade masks, and added to baths. However, in recent years, dermatologists have increasingly reported cases where long-term internal consumption of olive oil results in the opposite effect: irritation and skin inflammation. This is particularly true for individuals with heightened sensitivity or a tendency toward allergic reactions. In 2023, the Mayo Clinic published a case study that sparked significant discussion among dermatologists. A 48-year-old man from Arizona came in with complaints of eczema, which first appeared on his hands and later spread to his neck and back. At first, doctors investigated external sources: household chemicals, cosmetics, and animal hair. But nothing suspicious was found. Upon deeper examination, it was discovered that the man had begun taking 1 tablespoon of olive oil every morning, following advice from a blogger promoting instant body cleansing. His symptoms began 3 weeks after starting this routine and continued to worsen. Once he stopped consuming the oil, the skin rashes began to fade by the 5th day. Within 2 weeks, his skin had completely cleared. In this case, it was not a traditional food allergy, but rather an individual intolerance to specific components in the oil. particularly phenolic compounds that can trigger localized skin reactions. This was further supported by research conducted at the University of North Carolina in 2022, which found that 17% of participants with atopic dermatitis experienced worsening skin symptoms after consuming olive oil regularly for 3 weeks. This study focused on oral intake, not topical application. Additionally, the monounsaturated fats found in olive oil can disrupt the skin's barrier function when there is an imbalance, specifically when there is too much omega-9 and too little omega-3 fatty acids. This can lead to increased skin permeability, dryness, itching, and inflammation. Therefore, if you have sensitive skin or are prone to eczema, atopy, or allergic rashes, you should be cautious about consuming olive oil internally. Before incorporating it into your regular diet, especially in the form of a daily health spoon in the morning, it is important to monitor your body's reaction. Start with the smallest amount and carefully observe your skin over the first 2 weeks. If you notice any itching, redness, or rashes, immediately stop using the oil and consult a dermatologist. You may need to replace olive oil with flaxseed oil or avocado oil, which are less likely to cause skin reactions. The key is to understand that even the most beneficial product may not be suitable for your individual body. Problem 7. Decreased absorption of fat-soluble vitamins due to excessive olive oil consumption. Modern Americans are increasingly choosing foods that are marketed as clean, natural, and healthy. Olive oil has firmly taken its place on that list. People buy it in dark glass bottles, carefully selecting the country of origin, acidity level, and type of olives. Many begin adding olive oil to nearly every meal, into porridge, smoothies, vegetables, appetizers, pasta, and even desserts. However, in this pursuit of healthy eating, a sense of moderation is often lost. As a result, a little-known but serious issue arises: a deficiency of fat-soluble vitamins, even when enough of these vitamins are being consumed through food. According to the United States National Institute of Nutrition, in 2022, more than 31% of American adults experienced a hidden deficiency in vitamins A, D, E, and K. This seemed paradoxical. Most participants were eating well, taking supplements, and including cold-pressed oils in their diets. But lab results were clear. These individuals' bodies were lacking precisely the fat-soluble vitamins that are essential for immunity, vision, bone health, and blood clotting. To understand why this happens, the National Institute of Nutrition conducted an observational study in 2022. It included 84 individuals whose diets were rich in fats, primarily olive oil. All of them followed the principles of the Mediterranean diet, ate plenty of leafy greens, and took vitamins in capsule form. 61% of the participants were found to have low levels of vitamin K, despite it being present in their meals. Some also had reduced levels of vitamins A and E. Scientists explain that when fat intake is excessive, the body's mechanism for transporting these vitamins through the intestines becomes impaired. This is especially likely when the diet is low in fiber and protein. Too much fat creates what is known as lipid competition. The fats are absorbed rapidly while the vitamins remain in the intestinal tract and do not make it into the bloodstream. One practical example was documented at a gastroenterology clinic in Philadelphia. A 55-year-old woman named Sandra came in with complaints of dry skin, brittle nails, fatigue, and bruising from even light touches. Her test results showed low levels of vitamins A, D, and K. Sandra insisted that she was eating only healthy foods. Every day, she ate a large bowl of salad with olive oil, took vitamin D drops, and avoided fast food completely. But it turned out she was pouring oil on nearly every meal, up to 5 tablespoons per day. Her diet included very little fiber or legumes, and she consumed most of her vegetables in the form of juice or puree. Doctors recommended that she drastically reduce her oil intake, limiting it to 1 or 2 tablespoons per day, add fiber to her diet, and switch vitamins A and D to forms that do not require fat for absorption. Within a month and a half, her vitamin levels returned to normal and her symptoms began to disappear. Thus, while olive oil is indeed a valuable food, moderation is essential, just as it is with any fat. For fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K to be properly absorbed, the body needs balanced meals. You should not consume more than 1 to 2 tablespoons of oil per day. Always pair olive oil with foods rich in fiber and protein, such as leafy greens, beans, whole grains, and eggs. Avoid meals made up entirely of fats and soft, structureless foods. And finally, remember, if you are taking vitamin supplements but not seeing results, the issue may be an excess of olive oil in your diet. In that case, it is wiser to reduce the oil rather than increase the supplement dosage. Problem 8. Increased blood pressure in older adults from combining olive oil with salt. High blood pressure is one of the most common and dangerous chronic conditions among the elderly population in the United States. According to the latest report from the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, more than 67% of Americans over the age of 60 have clinically significant hypertension. Many of them do not realize that some of their eating habits, even those considered healthy, may actually worsen the problem. One such example is a popular snack, bread dipped in olive oil with a pinch of salt. At first glance, this does not look like fast food or processed food. Many people even see it as a healthy alternative to sandwiches with butter or cold cuts. However, for older adults with a sensitive vascular system, this combination can cause dangerous spikes in blood pressure, especially if consumed regularly and in the evening. A study conducted in 2023 at a Boston clinic affiliated with Harvard Medical School found that in elderly patients with hypertension, consuming just one serving of bread with oil and salt increased systolic blood pressure by an average of 18 to 25 millimeters of mercury within 2 hours after the meal. In patients who were taking antihypertensive medications, the effect was reduced but did not disappear entirely. Researchers explain that olive oil enhances the absorption of sodium, salt, from the gastrointestinal tract, and fats consumed in the evening can slow the elimination of excess fluid, promoting water retention and increasing pressure. One practical case was documented at the same institution. A 70-year-old man named George arrived at the Boston Hospital Emergency Department complaining of a headache, ringing in his ears, and a throbbing sensation in his temples. At the time of examination, his blood pressure measured 180 over 110 millimeters of mercury. The doctor initially suspected that he had skipped a dose of his medication, but George insisted that he had taken everything as prescribed. During the consultation, it was revealed that for the past several weeks, he had been enjoying a nightly snack, like in Italy, dipping warm wheat bread into olive oil with sea salt. He did not think of it as harmful, quite the opposite. After removing this snack from his diet and adjusting his meals, his blood pressure stabilized to 135 over 85 millimeters of mercury within 10 days. Therefore, older adults, especially those with hypertension or vascular sensitivity, must be careful to avoid hidden sources of salt in their diets. The combination of olive oil and salt can be particularly harmful in the evening, when the kidneys work more slowly and fluid retention becomes more pronounced. Instead, it is better to use olive oil without additives and pair it with vegetables or leafy greens. If you want something flavorful, replace salt with spices such as rosemary, basil, garlic, or lemon juice. Most importantly, pay close attention to how your body reacts. Even seemingly harmless habits like a piece of bread with oil can be unsafe when living with high blood pressure. Problem 9. Conflicting research on olive oil and heart health, why 1 spoon is not enough. There is probably no other food product that has earned such a consistent reputation over the past 2 decades as a friend of the heart, quite like olive oil. In hundreds of articles, television segments, and advertisements, the same message is repeated. Add olive oil to your diet and your heart will function like clockwork. But behind this appealing idea lies a much more complex picture. Recent data are prompting a reassessment of olive oil's role in the prevention of cardiovascular disease, especially when it is consumed in isolation, without being part of an overall healthy diet. Today, heart disease remains the leading cause of health decline and premature aging in the United States. According to the American College of Cardiology, 48% of American adults already have at least one risk factor, whether it is high blood pressure, elevated cholesterol, or excess weight. Against this background, Americans are eager to embrace any simple solution, including the habit of taking a daily spoonful of olive oil. However, as revealed in a comprehensive review by the United States National Institutes of Health published in 2023, the situation is far from clear-cut. An analysis of 27 clinical and epidemiological studies showed that the consumption of olive oil was indeed associated with a reduction in cardiovascular events, but only in cases where it was part of a complete diet rich in vegetables, fruits, fish, and fiber, and where sugar and processed foods were eliminated. Otherwise, the effect was minimal or entirely absent. The study also noted that individuals who simply added olive oil to their usual diet without changing its foundation showed no improvement in cholesterol levels or vascular function. This conclusion was supported by the clinical observations of cardiologist Elizabeth Morris from Atlanta, Georgia. In 2022, she saw a 59-year-old patient named Jeremy, an accountant who proudly explained how he had replaced butter with olive oil in an effort to improve his heart health. He consumed 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil every day, purchased from a health food store, but his diet remained otherwise unchanged. Few vegetables, snacks of cookies, sugary drinks, and steak for dinner. After 6 months, his low-density lipoprotein levels, the so-called bad cholesterol, had risen, and an echocardiogram showed early signs of thickening in the walls of the left ventricle. Jeremy was shocked. He believed that olive oil was a guarantee, but his doctor explained, oil is not a medication. It is only a component. By itself, it does not repair blood vessels if sugar and trans fats continue to be consumed at the same time. Therefore, one should not expect that 1 or 2 tablespoons of olive oil a day will protect the heart if the rest of the diet consists of fast food, a lack of vegetables, excessive salt, and sweets. Olive oil can be a beneficial element only when included in a balanced diet, one that is rich in leafy greens, legumes, fish, nuts, and whole grains. It is especially important to limit the intake of sugar and processed foods, and to avoid red meat and fast food. Only in this context does olive oil truly begin to support heart health, as part of a larger system, not as a magic bullet. Problem 10. Fake olive oil and the lack of benefits from cheap brands. How marketing covers up adulteration. For millions of Americans, the phrase extra virgin olive oil has long been a symbol of health. Many people trustingly toss a brightly labeled bottle with olives on the front into their shopping cart, believing they are buying genuine liquid gold. But the reality is disturbing. According to independent testing, up to 80% of olive oil sold in the United States is either fake or significantly inferior in quality compared to what is claimed on the label. The problem is not just about unmet expectations. Such products are not only ineffective, but can sometimes even be harmful. This concerning statistic was confirmed by a large-scale study conducted by the University of California, Davis, back in 2010. Researchers tested 14 popular brands of extra virgin olive oil available in supermarkets. The results were alarming. Only 3 brands met international standards. The rest were either oxidized or contained adulterants such as soybean, palm, or corn oil. In other words, consumers were paying for a premium product, but were actually getting a blend with low biological activity and a complete lack of antioxidants. 10 years later, the situation has changed very little. In 2021, the University of Georgia conducted a new study comparing premium-grade oils with low-cost supermarket brands. In the cheaper samples, the concentration of polyphenols, the main antioxidant compounds in olive oil, was found to be 3 to 4 times lower than in high-quality, unrefined, cold-pressed oils. This means that people adding such oils to their food in hopes of reducing inflammation, strengthening their blood vessels, or supporting brain function were, in fact, receiving no benefits at all. One such consumer was John Carter, a 62-year-old resident of Michigan. He visited a doctor complaining of high cholesterol, chronic fatigue, and joint pain. He had no bad habits, did not eat fast food, and claimed to strictly follow the Mediterranean diet. He consumed 2 tablespoons of olive oil daily, believing it was his primary defense against aging. But his lab results showed the opposite: elevated inflammatory markers and low-density lipoprotein levels at the edge of the risk zone. The doctor questioned him thoroughly about his diet and asked him to bring the bottle of oil he was using. It turned out to be a popular $6 supermarket brand in a plastic bottle with no clear information about its origin. The doctor recommended switching to certified oil in a dark glass bottle produced in the United States or Southern Europe, marked with Coax certified. Within 4 months, John's inflammation levels dropped, his well-being improved, and his cholesterol markers returned to normal. There are also cases where adulterated oil causes not just harm but full-blown allergic reactions. In New York in 2022, a 44-year-old woman named Jessica Harper visited a clinic with complaints of skin rashes and abdominal pain that began a few days after switching her usual oil. She had ordered Italian extra virgin olive oil from a major online marketplace. Laboratory analysis revealed that the oil contained traces of soybean and sunflower oils, to which Jessica had a hidden intolerance. Her symptoms disappeared completely once she returned to a trusted brand. Therefore, to avoid deception and truly benefit from olive oil, a few rules must be followed. First, always purchase oil in a dark glass bottle with a clear indication of the country of origin, harvest date, and expiration date. Second, look for certifications such as C Certified, California Olive Oil Council, or PGI, Protected Geographical Indication. These are signs of authenticity. Avoid oil sold in plastic containers with no harvest date or offered at suspiciously low prices. And most importantly, do not rely solely on a label that says extra virgin. Research the brand's reputation and, whenever possible, choose local producers with a transparent history. Only then can olive oil truly work for your health. Next, I recommend checking out these videos, and don't forget to leave your likes and comments. I'm looking forward to them.